AIDS? Chloe was frozen in place, at a loss. She was truly shocked. Not only because Dustin hit the nail on the head for all the symptoms she was experiencing, but mainly because she had gotten a new boy toy a while back. When they were intimate, they hadn't used protection. Now, hearing his words, she couldn't help but panic a little. Dustin, are you sure? Natasha also looked surprised. AIDS was not a trivial matter. Could it be that this was Roderick's secret illness? Although I can't be 100% sure, I'm sure I'm not too far off, Dustin replied. You're bullshitting me! Chloe shrieked. I just had a medical checkup at the hospital this morning. How can I have AIDS? Stop trying to scare me. It's up to you whether you want to believe me. Dustin shrugged his shoulders. Bastard, you're scaremongering and humiliating me in public. I've got to teach you a lesson. Wally, beat him up. Chloe flew into a rage and ordered the young bodyguard standing behind her to hit Dustin. However, the bodyguard named Wally was rooted to the floor, his face pale. Cold sweat dripped down his face. Wally, what are you still standing there for? Do something. Chloe shouted. What's going on? At that moment, a tan, obese middle-aged man suddenly walked in. Two burly bodyguards trailed behind him. Isn't that Big Bucks Brooks of Millsburg? What is he doing here? That seems to be his wife, Chloe Marshall. A good show is about to go down. Big Bucks Brooks is known for spoiling his wife. It seems like that punk is going to get it today. The restaurant broke into a heated discussion when the middle-aged man appeared. Honey, you're finally here. The moment Chloe saw him, she immediately ran into his arms and started to sob. That guy kept bullying me earlier. You have to help me. Who's the ballsy asshole brave enough to bully my Will? Roderick's eyes turned fiery with anger. Even though he knew his wife could be rather unruly, he still chose to do on her unconditionally. It's that gigolo next to Natasha. Chloe turned around to point at Dustin. Roderick narrowed his eyes, displeased. Ms. Harmon, is that man your friend? This is Dustin, my boyfriend. Natasha threw out straightforwardly. These words shocked Roderick. Wasn't Natasha's man Tyler? How come there's another one now? And judging from her expression, it didn't seem like she was joking. Honey, not only did that gigolo call me a shrew, but he also humiliated me and said that I have a disease. If you don't stand up for me, I will be too ashamed to leave the house ever again. Chloe put on a pitiful look as she spoke, tears spilled from her eyes. It was like she was now a completely different person than her unruly self earlier. She was a drama queen, plain and simple. Okay, calm down. I will definitely get justice for you. After comforting his wife, he turned back to Natasha. Ms. Harmon, I need an explanation. What explanation? Your wife was the one spitting ugly words first. Dustin was just having a normal conversation with her, Natasha responded indifferently. Even though Roderick's family was filthy rich, she wasn't scared of it. If they could talk it out, then they would. If they couldn't, then she'd let things get ugly. It was no big deal. You're talking nonsense. It's obvious that you're the ones ganging up to bully me. Chloe shouted. You have to speak from your conscience. I was just kindly letting you know that you're sick, Dustin said in a serious manner. See, honey. You heard it, right? He said I'm sick. He's clearly insulting me. Chloe was furious. I'm only speaking the truth when I say you're sick. How is that insulting you? Dustin asked back. Punk, you're pretty arrogant, huh? Then I must ask, what disease does my wife have? Roderick narrowed his eyes, his expression was livid. AIDS. Dustin uttered casually. Bullshit. Roderick's face darkened. I've always been clean, and I've never fooled around with anyone else. How could I possibly have contracted AIDS? I know you haven't, but your wife has, Dustin said. What do you mean? Roderick's gaze was steely. It's simple. Your wife is having an affair, Dustin uttered those shocking words. The entire room broke out into pandemonium. All of them pointed at Dustin as if they were looking at an idiot. He'd just told Big Bucks Brooks to his face that his wife was having an affair. Wasn't this just asking for death? Everyone knew that Big Bucks Brooks was known for covering up his wife's mistakes. Punk, do you know what you are saying? Roderick gritted his teeth, his eyes ferocious. If it wasn't for Natasha, he would have shot this man in front of him already. Of course I know what I'm saying. Dustin said, his expression remaining unchanging. Mr. Brooks, your wife just hired that bodyguard, Wally, a few months ago, right? So what? Roderick frowned. Based on my observation, his symptoms are much more severe than your wife's. Hence, my guess is that he was the one who gave your wife AIDS, Dustin said. Hearing these words, Chloe and the young bodyguard could not help but tremble in fear. Panic flickered across their faces. Roderick also caught the strange reaction. That's bullshit. By the time she returned to her senses, Chloe's shame had transformed into rage. You dog, you're smearing my innocence. I'm going to beat you into a bloody pulp today. With that, she got ready to pounce on him and attack him. At that moment, Roderick's cell phone suddenly vibrated. A message arrived. It was the result of the medical checkup this morning. Roderick perused it, and his face instantly turned stormy. Veins popped on his forehead. Honey, what's wrong? Chloe was feeling a little uneasy. Suddenly, a sharp slap rang out. Roderick, who was known for being overbearingly protective of his wife, slapped Chloe with so much force that she staggered backward. The blow caused her to bleed from her nose and mouth, and her cheeks began to swell. The entire room was shocked.